Hi and welcome to this tutorial on molecular shapes. In the previous tutorial, we were learning about types of different structures or properties of structures and crystalline structures, so metallic, macromolecular, so giant covalent, and we had a better understanding of the melting, boiling points, conductivity, solubility, etc. So we're moving on to a slightly different topic now, and of course looking at shapes. So to understand shapes, we need to have a good understanding of electron pairs, our valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, and bringing that together to actually be able to identify the different shapes of molecules that we can have. You'll find in molecules, in simple molecules, that the central atom is going to form covalent bonds with all the other atoms involved in the molecule. And the shape of that molecule is determined by the number of electron pairs in the outermost shell around that central atom. Just a reminder that a lone pair is a pair of electrons that are not shared with another atom in a bond. And a bonding pair is a pair of electrons that are shared between two atoms in a bond. So we've got some bonding pairs here with the hydrogen-nitrogen, a covalent bond, covalent bond, covalent bond, and then we've got a lone pair in the pink up at the top here. It's not involved in a bond, they're sort of sat there waiting. You might also need to know about electron charge clouds. Now that is a region where there is a high chance of an electron pair being present. It's a region of negative charge around the nucleus and is linked to an atomic orbital. We find that electron clouds can either contain lone pairs or bonding pairs. So there's these areas of electron density, you can see they are concentrated here and here. They're either a bonding pair or a lone pair. So the lone pair electron clouds, this one up here, can repel more than the bonding pair of electron clouds. And that has a distinct effect on the shape of the molecule. So lone pairs are held a lot closer to the central atom than the bonding pairs. So you can see I've got a diagram down here. The lowest repulsion is bonding pair to bonding pair, and the greatest repulsion is lone pair to lone pair. So any electron pair in the outermost shell of an atom can exist as an electron cloud or electron charge cloud. It doesn't matter whether the electron pair is involved in a bond or not. And they're as far apart as possible. They're going to just as far away, and that is, of course, to minimize the repulsion because these are all negatively charged electrons. Negatives and negatives repel. They don't want to be near each other. So they're as far apart as possible to minimize that repulsion between the regions of that negative charge. The bond angle between two lone pairs, that's going to be the greatest bond angle because that repulsion is greater, as I said before. They've got that strongest repelling effect. And the larger the bond angle between two electron pairs, of course, the further apart those bonds are. So hence the greater the repulsion between them. And this is the idea of the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. So VSEPR, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. Of course, different types of electron pairs are going to influence the bond angles, and they're going to result in different shapes. So a lone pair, as I said before, has got the biggest repulsion angles, followed by a lone bonding pair, followed by a bonding pair. And methane, for example, as we look here, it's got no lone pairs. Now, this does look like a bit of a wonky structure. I wouldn't draw it quite like this. We've got no lone pairs. Ammonia's got that one lone pair here, and water has two lone pairs, of which I think one is missing. So I'll add that in. So with methane, if I draw a slightly clearer example of what's going on here, there we go. Each of these bond angles here is going to be 109.5 degrees. Again, ammonia looks a little bit squidged, but maybe I can just about cope with that. Each of these bond angles here, specifically this bond angle, is going to be 107 degrees. And each of these bond angles here, gosh, it's very squidged down. I'll draw these a bit more clearly later, 104.5 degrees. So you can see as the number of lone pairs increases, this bond angle is reducing, and it's actually reducing by a fixed number. You might notice reduced by 2.5, reduced by 2.5. We can predict the shape of a particular molecule, and all we need to do that really is consider the number of electrons around that central atom. So how many lone pairs are there and how many bonding pairs are there around that central atom, in this example A? So here's a summary of how we do this. You can pause the video and have a read through yourself. But in general, you need to first write down the total number of electrons in the outermost shell. So what is the central atom? What group is it in? So therefore, how many electrons does it have in the outermost shell? Then you need to add an electron for each bond that the central atom makes with the other atoms. Then you should add or subtract electrons if ion charges are present. So if a negative charge is present, you should add an electron, but if a positive charge is present, then you should subtract an electron. You should ignore bonds with oxygen as it forms double bonds. So if oxygen is present, do not add or subtract electrons to it. You need to learn the following shapes of molecules, okay? But you also need to check your specification because different specifications might have slightly different naming for certain molecules, and they might also have certain molecules that you don't need to learn and others that you do. So double check for your specification. And for each of those shapes that you need to learn how many bonding and lone pairs are in that structure as well. So what electron pairs are present. So if we have a look at beryllium chloride to start with, beryllium is in group 2. So it's going to have 2 electrons in its outer shell. That's what my red electrons here are for. But the electronegativity difference between the beryllium and the chlorine is not great enough for ions to be formed. So we've got covalent bonding happening in this case. So it's got 2 outer electrons and it's forming 2 covalent bonds. So it has no lone pairs and 2 bonding pairs. So this is a linear shape. Effectively, it is flat. And the bond angle is therefore, of course, 180 degrees. And I'm keeping track here. If you've got 2 bonding pairs and 0 lone pairs, it's 180 degrees. Carbon dioxide, very similar. So it's got 4 outer electrons, of course, and these are involved in a double bond on this side and a double bond on this side. So 2 double bonds, no lone pairs, 4 bonding pairs. Now, when I teach this, I often tell students to consider a double bond just as a single bonding pair in terms of learning the shape structures. But either way, it's quite clear that this is a linear structure. Therefore, this is also going to be 180 degrees. Okay, this is a bit risky because, of course, if I've got 4 bonding pairs, I might also have a tetrahedral structure. So yes, a rule of thumb is if it's double bonding, then in your head, just consider this as 2 bonding pairs. Then we've got boron fluoride, so BF3, the same shape as BCl3, but boron has got 3 outer electrons, those are red, and it's forming 3 covalent bonds. So it has no lone pairs and 3 bonding pairs. They're all going to be repelled out as far as they can from each other, which is going to create a sort of propeller effect, which is why 360 divided by 3, each of these bond angles is going to be 120. And we call this shape trigonal planar. Not sure why that's not coming out. So trigonal planar. So 3 bonding pairs and 0 lone pairs. Here we've got sulfur dioxide. So sulfur is in group 6. It's got 6 outer electrons. It's forming 2 double bonds with 2 oxygen atoms. And it's got that lone pair left over on the top. Okay, 1 lone pair left over. So we've got 2 bonding pairs and 1 lone pair. And this is where on the previous slide, really, I should have crossed this out, and this should really be considered as 2 bonding pairs. When you've got a double bond, in terms of bonding pairs, consider it as just 1, even though it's a double bond, consider this as 1 bonding pair and this as 1 bonding pair. Okay, otherwise it's going to get a bit confusing. So when we've got a shape that has got 2 bonding pairs and 1 lone pair, we call it non-linear. You may also see it called as a bent shape, of course, because that's what the structure looks like. You need to check your spec to see what phrase they are going to accept as the correct answer, because over the years it's changed a little bit. So this lone pair, you can see lone pairs repel more than bonding pairs, and that is why we've got a larger angle here and we don't have a linear shape. Then we've got methane. So with methane, we've quite clearly got 1, 2, 3, 4 bonding pairs. Okay, so 4 outer electrons. Now, if you're an OCR, you have to be quite careful. My pen is not really cooperating very well at the moment. But with your structure, they might not like the fact that these look like they're bunched together quite a lot. So you want to have a nice distribution of these here. 109.5 degrees, if my pen works. So we've got 4 covalent bonds, no lone pairs, and we call this shape tetrahedral. So it's a tetrahedral shape with a bond angle of 109.5. Then we have ammonia. So nitrogen is in group 5. So we're forming, and I'm going to redraw it here in a sort of way that I would find much easier to interpret. So I've got one there, and one there. No need to squish them all down in the corner here. And it is this angle here really that we're labeling as 107 degrees. Okay, I don't really want that angle there labeled. Okay, so we're thinking about these bonds down here as 107 degrees. So we've got 5 outer electrons forming 3 covalent bonds, and we've got 1 lone pair on the top here. Maybe I'll make them a different colour, and they're going to repel more than the bonding pairs. Hence, they're squidging those hydrogens down quite a lot. So if the electron pairs arrange themselves in a tetrahedral fashion, as in methane, but the lone pair starts to repel more and push those hydrogens down, that's how we get the reduction of the bond angle from 109.5 in tetrahedral to 107 in this shape, which is pyramidal. Okay, and check. Sometimes it's trigonal pyramidal. Check your specification as to exactly what words they're going to accept as an answer. So yes, we've got that more repulsion. So effectively, they're pushing those hydrogens down in this direction here. Okay, so we're reducing our bond angles between the hydrogens. Then we've got a shape such as water. So water's got 2 lone pairs. Now they're going to repel a lot, and they're really going to push these hydrogen molecules, hydrogen atoms down. So when normally we'd have a tetrahedral structure, if we've got a pair of electrons, a pair of electrons, a pair of electrons, and a pair of electrons, the lone pairs are going to repel down and create what we call, yes, a non-linear structure. So you've got 2 bonding pairs and 2 lone pairs, okay? And so our angle here, I mean, this is a really small version of that angle. It's probably a bit easier if I draw my structure as such. Oh, not like that. So lone pair, lone pair. This angle here is 104.5 degrees. Okay, that's the angle they care about between the 2 hydrogen atoms. Here we've got phosphorus fluoride, my mistake. PF5, it's got the same shape as PCl5, for example, because F is obviously in group 7, so Cl. We've got 5 outer electrons, so it's forming 5 covalent bonds, no lone pairs. And so we can just memorize this shape as bipyramidal, okay? And we've got 2 different structures. Now, it's best to actually get some 3D models to see this for yourself. We're going to have a 90 degrees and we're going to have a 120. So 90 degrees on one plane as such, and then 120 on the other, effectively like a propeller system on the other. So it's almost like having a pyramidal and then with one sticking up and one sticking down, ultimately. So yeah, much easier to see in a 3D model. Check your specification as to whether you have to memorize this particular shape, because some of them you don't have to. And it's the same with sulfur fluoride. You might not have to learn this shape, you might need to. So with sulfur, of course, it's got 6 outer electrons forming 4 covalent bonds. And we've got 1 lone pair there, and that's going to repel. So you've got some slightly more obscure bond angles here. So do check whether you actually need to learn this. So 4 bonding pairs and 1 lone pair. And we call this a lovely name, the seesaw shape. Okay, now I have to say on OCR, for example, I have never seen this in a question without a lot of information being given. So I've never had students be expected to learn these angles or the shape, but it's always helpful to know. And then another shape that might not be on your specification is a T shape. So fluoride. And sulfur's got, of course, we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, our 6, 7 outer electrons. We're going to have 2 lone pairs going on and 3 of these covalent bonds. Okay, so these lone pairs are going to repel more. They're going to push that structure down. We're going to end up with 88 degrees. And one that we do need to know that is on, as far as I'm aware, definitely on lots of specifications, is octahedral. Now, this is where it's quite a nice structure, and this comes up in transition metals a lot as well in year 13. We've got 6 bonding pairs, so all the angles are 90 degrees. So you've got 4 at an angle on one plane, and then 1 sticking up and 1 sticking down. Okay, so 4, but no lone pairs going on here. Everything's just spread out as far apart from each other as it possibly can be. And this is sulfur hexafluoride, of course. And then we've got xenon tetrafluoride as well, another shape that you might come across, but I don't come across it very often. So square planar shape. So you can see that I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4 covalent bonds on one plane. Each of those are going to have 90 degrees between them. And then I've got a lone pair sticking up and a lone pair sticking down. Now, these lone pairs, they're repelling as hard as they can, but they can't repel anymore. So they're going to stick up and up. So we've got 90 degrees for all of those angles. And here is a summary. And so you need to learn the following types of molecules, as well as the types of numbers of electron pairs present. So how many bonding and how many lone pairs. Like I said, you must check your spec because some of these, they're not included on every spec. You don't want to have to learn extra things if you don't need to. Here's a practice question, so pause the video and give it a go. Right, so this is asking for our working. Of course, this is 2 marks. I wouldn't normally break this down as much as I'm breaking it down now. Practice makes perfect. You end up being very quick at this. The central atom is nitrogen, of course. And nitrogen has got 5 electrons because it's in group 5. Okay, 5 electrons, group 5 of the periodic table. So add 1 electron. So there's 3 other atoms of hydrogen bonded to nitrogen. This means the total number of electrons around the central atom of nitrogen is 5 plus 3, so we've got 8 electrons. We've got no ion charges involved here. Okay, so we can ignore that. And there's 4 pairs of electrons. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, meaning we've got 4 pairs of electrons, of course. So nitrogen forms 3 bonds with hydrogen atoms, 3 bonding pairs, and therefore 1 lone pair, because that's accounted for 3 of my electrons, and I've got 1 lone pair left. So if I draw my structure, I'm going to have nitrogen with my lone pair up here, and then I'm going to form 3 bonding pairs here. And my angle is going to be 107 degrees. And what would we call this? Trigonal pyramidal. So a lot of this is just memorizing. So you can create flashcards for yourself. There's lots of ways of doing it, but you are just going to have to learn. If I've got this many bonding pairs, this many lone pairs, this is going to be the shape. There's no sort of quick way of doing that. So you'll notice that every lone pair of electrons is going to reduce the bond angle of the shape by 2.5 degrees. So for example, if a molecule has a tetrahedral shape, and then with no lone pairs and 4 bonding pairs, the angle is going to be 109.5. If we take one of those bonding pairs off and put a lone pair in instead, the angle is reduced to 107, 109.5 minus 2.5. If we take another bonding pair off and put another lone pair on instead, so we've got 2 lone pairs, 2 bonding pairs, we subtract 2.5 from 107, and that gives us 104.5.